I mean, I've streamed. I've done basketball once in the last like
Oh, oh, oh,
2
oh,
days.
oh, oh. So you're still rusty, is what you're saying?
I just feel, yeah. Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good. We're live. All right, I'm gonna just tweet out the links.
I can't believe Tobias is playing.
Yeah, well, he was ruled questionable, and that concerned me in the middle of the day. I knew something was up.
He went to a shoot around. He was good.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I saw that. But okay, so they have Wagner and Rhoda way higher than.
What's going on, Elite? What's going on?
So, Tobias, you are playing. I mean, it's still a good matchup, but like it just kind of, I feel like if anything, it just hurts Warford. Because I'm assuming he's coming off the bench again.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely gonna be coming off the bench.
So I need to run with just Simmons now. So.
What's going on? TJ's getting some love.
Hey everybody. I don't have YouTube up, so I'm not paying attention to you guys. It's not because I don't love you, it's because
he's super focused.
Yeah. Tip top shape. I almost said ship shop shape. Which wouldn't make any sense.
All right. So yes, we are aware about all the injury news that just came out. Well,
yeah,
two
Tobias
big pieces.
Is playing, guys, so we're aware.
What did you say? What did you say?
Tobias.
Might as well butcher every name while we're at it.
His name's Tobias Harris.
Oh, good to have you back there, TJ.
I know, dude. It's good to be back. I feel like I haven't all-star break, skiing.
Yeah.
I survived the mountain rules. If there's any Always Sunny fans out there, I kept saying mountain rules the whole entire time. People didn't get it because everybody I was with doesn't watch Always Sunny. So that was kind of frustrating, but you know, it is what it is.
We beat the Sharks last night, TJ. The Sharks had a phenomenal lineup, and we beat them by 0.5 points. It was amazing.
Wow, took down the Sharks, eh?
Mm-hmm. And they're double ups.
San Jose Sharks?
Yeah, them too.
All right, so Richardson's still good. Embiid's still good. Oh, I got to change minutes, though, too, right? I mean, Horford's still a fantasy point per minute, but like you can't trust him off the bench.
We're gonna be going live or starting this live stream, guys, pretty soon here. I'm gonna break down some numbers real quick before I start giving you guys some recommendations. So bear with me here.
31, 35.
Bias. Ben Simmons, and who else is out for this team? Some
Just
weirdo?
Ben Simmons.
No, it's
well,
Pelly.
But I mean, yeah, he's not. Yeah.
You never know. You never know. He could be a huge usage hog. Look at this, 1.61 fantasy points per minute from Embiid.
What's Glenn Robinson's sample size? What was it? How many minutes?
It wasn't.
38.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's hard to base it off of anything.
That's pretty trash. Just, I don't want to be putting him at a 6-3 on Roto if he's...
Yeah, Horford's at 25 minutes now, so that's cool.
What's the date? 24th.
Josh Richardson. Richardson's 0.85. That's okay. He averaged what? Was it 0.83 during his stretch with everybody?
0.85. Oh, with everybody on the court?
Yeah, with everybody. I think it was barely lower than that.
Probably like high 0.7s.
Tobias. I guess we have to look at Tobias now. So is he playing 35 minutes? Because if he is, that's pretty cool.
I mean, it's a great matchup for them, so it's like my voice is gone.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. You guys are waiting for me. I just wanted to get Philly's numbers up before I started this thing because they're the main focus. So what's going on, guys? Thank you for tuning in. everybody that is new to the stream, welcome. If this is your first time, please hit that subscribe button. We want to make sure that we are your first resource for all of our DFS content here. We go live before lock, just like this, every single night, where we go break down the injury news. Of course, if you guys are watching my videos in the morning, and in this case, very early in the morning, because I did it at 2 o'clock in the morning last night.
Yeah,
so,
you're a lunatic.
Dedication. I was up and I was like, you know what? We'll just do it. But the live streams, guys, are the most important thing, because as we know, injury news does come out throughout the day. So, like, for instance, today with Tobias Harris playing, obviously in the video he wasn't playing, so I was all aboard the Philly train. But as of right now, we're gonna go ahead and dive deeper into that. So let's go ahead and do that. TJ, welcome back. As you guys know, TJ was gone for about 3 days or so.
Little ski trip.
Yep. We did fine without you. Double ups. We didn't cash the first 2 nights, but then last night we had near takedowns with a double up lineup. So I guess it makes up for it. But you are in charge of double up lineups, so we're glad to have you back. Let's go ahead and break down the slate. I guess, where do you want to start, TJ?
First, I want to find my water, which I took a sip of and just disappeared, apparently. I mean, it's not important, but it's just very
Losing
confusing.
everything.
Yeah, my hair, my water, my mind. Okay, well, obviously Philly was the main place to start, but now with Harris back, I mean, it's still a great matchup against Atlanta.
You just want to talk about it anyway?
Yeah, we can start with them.
Okay. So, per our models here, Glenn Robinson at 22 minutes, does he spark any interest to you?
One thing I want to look up real quick, seeing as I missed it, was Philadelphia's game flow against Milwaukee on Popcorn. I want to see the lineup that they started. It was Tobias, Glenn Robinson, Josh Richardson, Simmons, and Embiid. So they did start Glenn Robinson. 5-minute stint, 5-minute stint, 3-minute stint. Finished the game with 6 minutes.
He's projected starting tonight too.
Yeah, it looks like they'll probably. So right now, Roto has the projected lineup as Nato, Richardson, Glenn Robinson, Tobias, and Embiid. I'm showing last game they started Tobias, Glenn Robinson, Richardson. Oh, so Simmons did play against Milwaukee. Okay, see, I didn't even know that Simmons was back. I was, heavily involved in skiing. So with Simmons off, I assume they do start Nato again, which is what they did when
they played Brooklyn.
Yep, and we rostered Tobias. We were heavy on Philly. So I don't really have any interest in Glenn Robinson just because the sample size is so minimal. If he does start, definitely an intriguing GPP option, but in terms of cash, I'm not interested. I still really like Embiid with the matchup at 9-5 against Atlanta in a pace-up spot. I mean, the over-under right now is 229. We know when Atlanta's playing, they love to play up pace, run the floor. Philly, 8.5-point favorites, so could be decently competitive. So I definitely like Embiid. Kind of stinks that Tobias is playing because Embiid would have been like an absolute lock. I'm still leaning that way as of now, as Embiid and Luka as the pay-ups for cash. But yeah, I'm definitely intrigued by Embiid. Josh Richardson's definitely somebody I want to try and roster as well. I feel like he's going to carry a lot of ownership. At 4.8 against Atlanta, it's definitely a good price. So I'm definitely intrigued by him. I mean, Al Horford off the bench, it's a good, it's Atlanta, so it's definitely a good matchup. He's obviously been struggling as of late, hasn't been starting. It hasn't really been too great for them off the bench in terms of DraftKings production. But I definitely don't hate him. Averages 1.02 fantasy points per minute at 4,500. If he sees the sub 20 minutes against Atlanta, I definitely like him as a GPP play. But yeah, we're going to definitely have to wait and see what the actual lineup is. I feel like they didn't announce that yet, unless I'm wrong. No, because that was the Wizards lineup that got announced. Yeah, so I want to wait and see what this Philly lineup is and kind of go from there. But the guys I'm looking at in terms of cash right now are Embiid and Richardson.
So it's funny that you say that because the percentage ownership just got updated and they actually went up in ownership. Embiid and Richardson did. I don't know if you updated it. 50 and 55%. So pretty chalky it looks like. So yeah.
48 and 33.
Yeah. So I refreshed it. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think that Glenn Robinson becomes an interesting GPP option just because he's at 5%. But again, did I say Glenn Robinson or Josh Richardson?
You said Glenn Robinson.
Okay, good. Yeah, 5%. So, I mean, that's the only reason I'd like him. But again, he's just not that productive of a player. He really hasn't been that productive of a player since he's been in Philly. I mean, he got 21 DK points last game. But again, there's so much value on the slate in general. I think he's just an outside GPP option. Again, I would have loved him if Tobias Harris was still out. But of course, he was questionable as the day went on. That's always a bad sign, obviously being ruled in. So that makes Tobias Harris another interesting GPP option, obviously without Simmons at 7.1K. Obviously, that price tag is a pretty fair, pretty fairly adjusted there. So against Atlanta, again, all these guys have high ceilings because it is a pace-up spot. So again, for people in cash, anybody who's playing cash here tonight, Richardson and Embiid are going to carry the highest ownership. Okay, so those guys are going to be locks as of right now. Of course, never a dull moment with NBA. As we listen here on the stream, there could be some more injury news that breaks the slate. But for Philly, I think that's it.
One thing I want to note is that it looks like when Simmons did go out, it looks like he played the first 5 minutes against Milwaukee. They relied heavily on Shaq Milton. Shake. I want to call him Shake Milton.
Shake.
So Milton actually played 7 minutes in that second quarter. He didn't come in initially for Simmons. They had a pretty big rotation switch. They actually subbed in for, and so Alec Burks actually was the one that came in for Simmons. But Milton actually started the second half, played the first 5 minutes of the second quarter, and in the fourth quarter actually played 10 plus minutes. Or 10 minutes. So he's definitely an intriguing GPP play. I want to wait and see what the starting lineup is, obviously, but yeah, keep an eye on him for sure too.
Yeah, a lot of interesting GPP plays from this team in general. I think on the slate overall. So I want to move on. Let's move on to another team here. We are still pinning the injury news on Paul George, right? He's still up in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Paul George, Alfred Payton, and there was one other guy that I was interested in. Bev too for the Clippers.
Yeah, both those guys.
But yeah, we got Bertans is ruled out, and Kevin Love's probable. So yeah, it's mainly just those Clippers guys now, and then I mean Alfred Payton could shake some things up, I guess, if he gets ruled out playing Houston. So.
TJ, you want to do this? Since you broke down the Wizards already and I haven't, can we move there? Because there's also some interesting plays in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and do that.
So in terms of Washington, obviously this is a very high over-under. It's 240 plus. So I have a lot of interest in this game in terms of GPPs. The Wizards are without Bertans and Thomas Bryant tonight. So when you take those two off the court, Rue gets a 3% usage bump, averages 0.99 fantasy points per minute. Troy Brown gets a 3.8% usage bump, averages 1.02 fantasy points per minute. And Mo Wagner is the guy that I'm looking at in terms of cash at 3,900. Doesn't really get too significant of a usage bump, averages 0.9 fantasy points per minute, should see mid 20 minutes. I mean, if they get blown out, he could even see more minutes because he's not in that starting rotation. Obviously a tough matchup against Milwaukee. The team total, though, for Washington is, I had it up here. I think it was 114, if I remember correctly. Yeah, 114.25. So, I mean, it's a pretty good team total over. And the over-under opened up at 241. It's now at 243.5. So a lot of money's coming in on that over. So I definitely like this game for cash and for GPPs. More on the GPP side just because I am worried about a blowout. But I mean, if they can keep this thing close, there's definitely some guys that I like at some pretty good price tags. But Mo Wagner is definitely the guy that I'm interested in most for cash. Should carry a good amount of ownership, especially now that Bertans is out. And I know, Matt, we love trying to take the studs in these types of games where it's such a high over-under in a blowout type situation, like a guy like Bradley Beal tonight against Milwaukee. Should carry low ownership. It could be a very good spot for him. I mean, they're going to need somebody to try to keep it close. Why not Bradley Beal?
Absolutely. So I kind of want to talk about that because on the flip side, you got Milwaukee, you got Giannis, right? I want to touch base on this now because this question is going to come up. There's 3 studs on the slate. There's 4, but there's 3 ones that stand out on the slate. Coming from Giannis.
Let's go.
Yeah. Coming from Giannis, Doncic, and Harden. Yep, you're right. And Harden. And well, Trae Young, I'm not going to count Trae Young right now just because the over-under is not as high as the other ones. But there's 3 ones that stand out the most. And when I look at these games, and TJ, I haven't talked to you about this yet, but Houston here is a 14-point favorite against New York. Milwaukee is a 13-point favorite against Washington. And then, where's the last guy? Oh, Dallas. And then Dallas. I'm looking for Dallas. Dallas is a 13-point favorite as well. But if we go back here, and at least the last time I looked at it, the ownership is with Doncic and Harden. I don't know if I'm going crazy or not, but Giannis is the best player out of those 3. Now, I get it that game could easily get out of hand, but according to Vegas, so could these other teams. So my thought process is this. It's like, yeah, I'm going to play the chalk where it is, and I'm going to play with Doncic and cash. I'm going to play Harden if I can get him in there. But Doncic is probably going to be the most cash viable. But again, it's still just as bad or still as good as of a blowout potential as the other games. Giannis is going to carry 17% ownership here in GPPs. Why not take that percentage ownership differential here and GPPs, go with Giannis? I think Giannis has a lot of leverage tonight. Not saying he's the best play. I'm saying it's pretty much a toss-up between these 3. But if you're going to play somebody that's going to be low-owned in GPPs and you're going to pay up for a stud, I think Giannis is a perfect example of that. If they do keep it close, could pay off tons because they have the highest over-under as it is. I don't know if you want to speak on that, but that's basically what I was looking at earlier, and it kind of stood out to me.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I mean, they're all in such good spots that it's really tough to differentiate the 3. I mean, Luka at, 10-5, 10-6 in that game against Minnesota with a 240 over-under is wild. And then, I mean, even Giannis, yeah, the one thing that I'm always scared about with Milwaukee is just how good they are as a team. Playing a weak Washington team, the one thing that I do like is that they are on the road. Without Brook Lopez. I mean, obviously it's not without Giannis, but it's still one guy that they're missing. That's, a starter for them. Obviously input twin brother, Robin Lopez. So it's not really much of a difference. But yeah, no, I definitely get what you're saying. I mean, I think all 3 of those guys are in really good spots. I'd love to roster all 3 in one lineup if that is even physically possible. I doubt it.
That happened actually 2 nights ago. We were able to play 3 studs in the lineup because there's so much value while you were drunk skiing.
I mean, you could come Robin Lopez 3K. I mean, Mo Wagner's 3.9. There's definitely some guys that you can go spend down on, but that's a dangerous game. So yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I mean, why not take the chance when he is going to be lower owned and on another slate with Luke? If Luka's not playing tonight, then Giannis is the pay up option.
Right.
So no, I get what you're saying. I mean, take advantage of that 17. I don't think he's going to be 17% owned. I feel like he should be a little bit higher. But that's just my opinion.
And regardless, I think it's going to be Harden and Giannis are going to be the lower owned of the 3. So again, we could say the same thing for Harden. But it's just funny because Harden he's 11K and he was lower owned at a lower price tag the other night. So it's interesting. It's funny to see the public react. They're so fickle. The DFS market in general was so fickle. So I wanted to go ahead and talk about that while I was on the team of Milwaukee. But I'm going to go ahead and just go back to Washington here. So I think the scary thing is with Giannis in comparison to Harden is just the minutes. Like Giannis more often than not won't break 32 minutes. Like Harden more often than not won't play less than 35 minutes. And when you pay up for those studs, like that's the scary thing is that difference of 4 or 5 minutes can be 10 to 12 DraftKings points. So that's the one thing that you always got to take into consideration with Giannis is just that team is just a wagon. And I mean, if they can monitor his minutes and keep him under that 32, like if he can play 30 to 31, he's still going to do damage. Obviously he'll shoot 60% from the field, almost get a triple double. But if he's playing 36, 37 minutes, then there's no question. Yeah. I completely agree. And again, this is if they can keep it close. And the same thing can be said for all of these pay-up options tonight. Probably one of these teams is going to get blown out. Hopefully it's with Dallas and GPPs so that you guys can benefit off of that. But again, I just wanted to point that out. So with Washington, I completely agree with you with Wagner here at 49%. It's going to be a bit chalkier just because he kind of steps into that same kind of role with Bertans, same kind of rotation. 25 minutes, I think that's a little conservative too. He could play even more than that. And then Bogner here at 3.1K is rating well on our sheet. A very good GPP option. We know that he really doesn't do much, but he still has to be on the floor here. So 3.1K could keep his arms up in the air and still get some points, get some rebounds. 0.71 fantasy points per minute. So it's really not horrible. It's not like you're looking at somebody like Tony Snell. He's still a little bit more productive than Tony Snell. So Hakimi also 22 minutes. We know that what's his face is out. Bryant, couldn't think of his name. 3.6, 22 minutes. He tends to do really well without Bryant. So again, another GPP option. And then my man Troy Brown, 0.96 fantasy points per minute. So again, 26 minutes. I love when he plays, closer to 30 minutes. So he's getting 26. Not a bad play as well. But yeah, I think Wagner is the cash lock out of that game. All right, do you want to move on to Minnesota? Because Minnesota is another.
Let's just touch base on Milwaukee.
Milwaukee, sure. Go ahead. I forgot about Lopez, to be honest. That's the reason I moved on.
We have Brook Lopez out tonight. So Robin Lopez getting the start at 3K. I'm not running to roster him in cash, but I feel like he's going to be super chalky. So it's definitely a building block for me tonight. Gives you good salary relief. So I definitely don't hate him. Averages 0.75 fantasy points per minute. So it's I'm not expecting Robin Lopez to go out and get us 30, but get 15 to 20 and hit value. I can definitely see that. And at 3K, should be able to pay that off. So I definitely don't hate him. The biggest usage bump actually goes to Chris Middleton. Gets a 4.5% usage bump with Brook Lopez off the court, which is pretty interesting. Averages 1.36 fantasy points per minute, but Giannis is the guy that I still want to get to. Gets a 2.4% usage bump on top of the usage that he already conducts for the Milwaukee Bucks. Averages 1.94 fantasy points per minute. So gets a bump in rebounds. He's actually a 5.6 on our sheet, which is really good for somebody at that price tag. So I'm definitely interested in Giannis. If Luka wasn't on the slate for cash, Giannis would probably be my spend up. I really like the matchup against Washington. I am scared of a blowout, obviously, but all three of the studs that are playing tonight are all in blowout-prone games. Robin Lopez is definitely the guy that I'm looking to roster in cash. I really like Giannis. I don't hate Chris Middleton at 8,300. I feel like he's going to carry some low ownership.
1%.
So I would definitely take some chances with him tonight. George Hill, I threw his name out there the other day. He's still at 3K.
Could get blowout minutes too. There's that.
Yeah. He's played 20 minutes the last two games coming back from injury. He's averaged 12 DK points. Nothing crazy. I would take a shot at him. I'm not going to go crazy overweight on him, but have him in a couple lineups. I definitely don't hate it. So Robin Lopez, Giannis, Robin Lopez for cash, Giannis, GPPs. I'm going to be overweight on Giannis for sure. And then Chris Middleton, I'm definitely going to have some stabs at.
Sure, I'm not even going to repeat what you said. I completely agree with everything you just said. Giannis, when he's on the court, should get every rebound. There's no excuse on why he shouldn't, because we know that Brook Lopez is out, we know that Bryant's out. It's going to be small ball up and down the court. He should be heavily involved in the offense. So again, Giannis, when he's on the floor, should be very, very productive tonight.
Yeah.
All right, where do you want to go next? Because there's a bunch of different options. Minnesota still has Towns out.
Yeah.
And D'Lo is back. You want to go Miami? Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. So with Miami, go ahead.
Okay, so Miami. We have no Jimmy Butler still. We have no Tyler Hero. And we have no Myers Leonard. So I definitely have some interests in Miami. Oh, I say still that Jimmy Butler was out. He just missed against Cleveland, but whatever. So I definitely have some interest in Miami. Unfortunately, I don't think I have any interest in them in terms of cash, but for GPP, I definitely love them. They're at a 114 team total over. Playing against Cleveland, pretty good matchup for guys like Bam. Averages 1.47 fantasy points per minute with all those guys off the court. Gets a 2.6% usage bump. Could be in for a pretty big game against those Cleveland bigs. They have Drummond now. I still like the matchup for Bam. I think he's very athletic. So I'm not scared about him facing Drummond or TT or anything like that. So I expect a big night from him tonight. So at 8.5, I definitely like him for GPPs. Kendrick Nunn, we saw what he did last game against Cleveland. 46 points. So yeah, these guys are playing on a home and home. So I mean, Kendrick Nunn, I don't expect him to repeat his effort that he just had against Cleveland. He got a 1,100 price bump too, so I'm not really in love with him. I'd rather go back to Dragic at 6K, just because I trust him a lot more. But yeah, the other guys I'm looking at for Miami are Kelly Olynyk at 3,700, averages 1.1 fantasy points per minute with all these injuries. Definitely somebody that I'm intrigued by. Played 26 minutes against Cleveland last game, got 30 DraftKings points, so I definitely don't hate him. And then Derrick Jones Jr., again, 27 minutes against Cleveland at 3.5, had 32 points, DraftKings points, averages 0.9 fantasy points per minute with all those injuries. So, I mean, that doesn't really jump out at me, but definitely interested in him in terms of GPPs.
Yeah, so while you were gone, TJ, the Chicago Bulls had pretty much every single person out for their team. You can kind of, and we were very aggressive with the stacks, at least for GPPs. I feel like, guys, tonight, this is your best version of the Chicago Bulls just because of all the usage that is out for this team with Jimmy Butler. And the price tags are still very, very soft. So with Kelly Olynyk, with Jones Jr., the guys that you've already talked about, with Iggy, with you can even go down and say Duncan Robinson, this usage has to go somewhere, and these minutes have already been adjusted for these guys. So I'm not saying as aggressive as the Chicago Bulls and start their entire starting roster and some of their backups, but you can get away with playing a couple of these guys because the 114 over-under is what's very intriguing to me. I do like that. We know that Miami's ability to score without Butler on the court is still there. So I do like what you just said. I think Olynyk, I love for GPPs as a great pivot. He plays a power forward and center position, so he can go a lot of different directions in your lineups. Derrick Jones, again, another great option. Small forward, power forward, and I'm sorry for my dog, guys, if you guys can hear that. Andre Iguodala here, 22 minutes. So, again, I do like these guys. I like these guys for value. They're obviously...
Jay Crowder, too, I like.
Jay Crowder, yep. All these guys are just so low owned, just like the Bulls were the last two nights. It doesn't make sense. Again, this is your best version of the Chicago Bulls. So I will go ahead and recommend these guys. If you guys are going to ask me what my favorite stack is, my GPP stack, it's going to be the Heat. Again, for GPPs. All right.
Cool.
Do you want to talk about Cleveland?
Nope.
Okay. Do you want to talk about?
I'm excited to see what they do. Boheim just got fired, so I stepped down, whatever the hell you want to call it. So I'm excited to see how they play for the second half.
Will Drummond finally get minutes?
Say it again?
Will Drummond finally get his minutes? Because he's been playing 21, 24, 22 minutes the past couple games. Unbelievable. Yeah. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But just like those young guys, like Sexton, Garland, I'm excited to see like how they play. I mean, 1-1 since the firing, so we'll see.
Yeah. New York, Houston. I want to talk about Houston for sure. Do you want to talk about New York at all?
Well, Alfred Payton's still questionable, so I think that's pretty big. But yeah, no, we're gonna hold on. I don't really have anything to say on them until we get that news.
Okay, I want to talk about Houston because Eric Gordon continues to be 3.7K, 3.6K is what he was at last time, and we took full advantage of him when he was playing Utah. This is a pace-up spot for Houston. I do not see why his price tag is not up. 27 minutes coming off the bench is what he played last game, but again, he still got how many minutes did he get? I think he got more than 25.
25.
Oh, he's only got 24 minutes. Okay.
24 and a half, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, and he's still coming off an injury, so I only suspect that his minutes will go up. They said nothing about his minute restriction. So, again, 27 minutes, 6.5 point per dollar on a sheet. It's a pace-up spot. If there is blowout potential, I do expect him to play a lot of minutes. James Harden, obviously, without Capella, we still are taking Capella off the court because we know that has a big impact on Harden's usage and Westbrook's. So James Harden is a 6 point per dollar value on our sheet. Still 11K, 37 minutes. As we know, he should play the entire game if they do keep it relatively close. And they tend to put Harden out there even when it's not so close. They only take him out when it's absolutely out of hand, like 20 to 30 points out of hand. So they tend to keep him on the court for majority of the game regardless. PJ Tucker is 3.8K. Again, he has to be out there. Another great GPP option. He's showing at 2% ownership. 2% ownership in a pace-up spot. So again, another team to target here for GPPs. I don't like him as much as Miami just because of the blowout potential. But again, a lot of value here. And with Russell Westbrook, of course, another GPP option. But I do like Harden, again, a little bit more. But again, Westbrook is just carrying a lot less of an ownership, so you could take advantage of that if you want to. Maybe pivot to him as opposed to Harden. Again, a lot of value. TJ, what do you think about Houston? I think it's just mispricing in general.
Yeah, so I'm definitely intrigued by Eric Gordon. I'm actually on the other side of the blowout, thinking he'll get more run. I feel like if I mean, it's tough to say, but coming back from an injury, I feel like if they're up big, they might not play him just because he is coming back from an injury. But I mean, obviously, if he were to get more run, that would be better because at 3.7, I think he's much too cheap right now. With Capella off the court, which is I feel like he's the only guy that Houston technically has out. Yeah, so with no Capella, he gets a 2% usage bump, 0.89 fantasy points per minute. So projected at 27 minutes. If he gets there, if he gets those 27 minutes against the Knicks, I definitely like him as a GPP play. Harden rates out very well on our sheet still. 1.77 fantasy points per minute, 3% usage bump with Capella off the court. More of a GPP play for me tonight because obviously the spend up right now is going to be Luka. But yeah, I mean, so that's kind of where I'm looking. Robert Covington, I definitely don't hate either. 1.02 fantasy points per minute since he's gotten to Houston. Should see mid 30 minutes. Rates out pretty decent on our sheet. I could definitely see myself rostering him in cash. I don't know if I'll get there because it's 6K. I feel like it's more of a stars and scrubs type night. So I'll have to wait and see, what goes on in the next 30 minutes. But I definitely don't hate Covington. You alluded to Tucker. I mean, I'm never high on him just because I feel like he's so unproductive. 0.63 fantasy points per minute. I don't want to deal with the headache. But I mean, I definitely see it. He rates out pretty well on our sheet. So I can definitely get behind people starting him. I'm going to avoid him. But yeah,
the only reason I like him is because 2% ownership.
Right. Yeah. 2%. Yeah. I mean, why not take a chance? He's good in our sheet, like I said. So I definitely don't hate him. I personally hate him. So, yeah, that's kind of where my thoughts are in Houston. I mean, if we knew Eric Gordon was going to get more of a run in the second half, they're blowing him out like in the fourth quarter, then because he'll see that with Harden and Westbrook off the court, which is huge. So I mean, I'm definitely interested in him. I think the 3.7 price tag is way too cheap. But yeah, I mean, Harden at 11K is who stands out to me the most.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is a good team to target for GPPs. And I just think, obviously, with the mispricing in general, I think that's the reason why I like them so much. Them in Miami, if I had to recommend some GPP stacks. All right, so I guess we can move on to this Dallas-Minnesota game. For Dallas, really, we only need to talk about one guy. Can you agree with that?
Yeah, Luka. Everybody else is priced way too high.
Yeah, I agree. And with Doncic out last game, that's the reason why these price tags are still up on these guys. Like Finney Smith should be nowhere near 5K with Doncic and Porzingis back. So Doncic, 10.5.
If anybody, Tim Hardaway should not be 7K. That's the guy.
I didn't even see him. Yeah, that's crazy. But Doncic, 10.5. We don't really need to talk about it. He's in a great matchup. It's obviously mispricing here. He gets up to 12K even with all these guys back. So he will be chalky. And I think he's in a fantastic spot too. Again, when we get the question asked later, guys, who is going to be our favorite pay up option, I'm gonna say Luka for cash. I think he's the most obvious play, but these other guys are just as great great of plays in general. So I like Luka for cash. I like him for GPPs if you're gonna go different routes for different players. But that's really all we need to talk about. Again, 30th in the league, Minnesota is against combo guards, if that means anything. I know their team looks completely different now, but they're just as bad. Yes. So Minnesota flipping over on the other side. They are without Towns. Naz Reid, if he starts, is still pretty good on our sheet, but again, he's been getting a lot of foul trouble. That's the only thing that scares me. I'm kind of off these guys now. I really don't see anybody but maybe D'Lo for GPPs. TJ, are you interested in anybody from this team?
Yeah, D'Lo and Beasley are two guys that I definitely like for GPPs. And then, yeah, like you said, Naz Reid, if he can stay out of foul trouble, should be a pretty good matchup for him. No Willie Cauley-Stein tonight, I don't think. Again, so I definitely like Naz Reid. I want to see if he's starting too, because if he's not starting, it definitely takes me off of him a little bit for GPPs. But if he does get the start, then I really like him for GPPs.
Yeah. All right, moving on. I think. Well, that's pretty much every chalky play. Memphis, you're right. I was just looking at that game. All right, yeah, obviously. Duh. Okay. Do you want to go ahead and start out with Memphis?
Yeah. So there's definitely some guys that I'm very intrigued in from Memphis that aren't flagging too much in terms of ownership. One of them that really sticks out to me is, I mean, everybody's going to go straight to Brandon Clark, especially if he gets to start, which I do understand. But if I can save $1,000 and get Kyle Anderson, I'd rather go there. Kyle Anderson's actually the biggest beneficiary with Jaren Jackson off the court. Gets a 5.1% usage bump, averages 0.97 fantasy points per minute. So if Kyle Anderson does start, I definitely like him at 4,500. I mean, Brandon Clark's going to be the guy that carries the ownership. He still rates out pretty well on our sheet. 5,500, gets averages 1.01 fantasy points per minute with Jaren Jackson off the court. So definitely a good play. But they got Zhang now. So I mean, the 32 minutes I feel like for Brandon Clark is kind of a lot. I mean, he did play that against the Lakers, so I guess that's a pretty good sample size. But Gorgie is somebody that I'm looking at for GPPs. I mean, not necessarily steal. I guess he won't steal the minutes away from Brandon Clark, but the sample size, unfortunately, is very minimal. So that's the one thing that I'm kind of scared about. But he rates out very well on our sheet. I want to see. It was only 47 minutes sample size, but in the time since he has been in Memphis, he averages 1.24 fantasy points per minute. He's a 7.6 on our sheet in that time. So very productive player, obviously, when he's on the court. It's a good matchup against the Clippers big. So he would, I mean, if he comes off the bench and goes up against Montrezl Harrell, he has a huge height advantage there. So I definitely like him down low against the Clippers. The minutes obviously scare me, so definitely more of a GPP play. And then Josh Jackson at 3,300, 0.96 fantasy points per minute, projected at 23 minutes. So I definitely like him as a GPP play as well. He might be my pump play tonight. Him and Zhang, those are the two guys that I'm looking at for GPP punts. And yeah, actually, now that I kind of spoke on that a little bit, Kyle Anderson actually is the one that got his minutes affected by Gorgie's productivity against the Lakers. So he only played 22 minutes. So I definitely feel like Brandon Clark is the safer play. So I'm going to retract my comment about Clark and Anderson. I think Brandon Clark is the safer play. But yeah, Anderson GPP play for sure. But I think Brandon Clark carries the ownership.
You have an interest in Ja Morant?
He's a 5.4 on his sheet. I mean, I definitely don't hate him. You know, if Bev's playing, he'll mark Ja. I mean, I don't even know what the starting lineup's going to be for the Clippers. So we're going to have to wait and see what goes on with that. So they're at 10:30. So,
yeah, and also
233 over under. Someone's going to need to score for them. So I mean, I don't hate Ja Morant, but I think Kyle Anderson, Brandon Clark, Gorgie Zhang, and Josh Jackson are the guys that I want to attack for GPPs. But yeah, I could get behind Ja Morant.
Ja Morant and Valanciunas gets actually a slight bump in usage too. So that's just.
I mean, this is a team that I'm targeting tonight in Memphis for GPPs.
So yeah, so go ahead, guys. Ask any questions in the chat. We're kind of wrapping up our entire slate overview here, and then I will give a summary of my favorite plays, and TJ will give his favorite cash plays as usual. But as we're wrapping it up here, it looks like Memphis, Houston, and Miami very, very good for GPPs. I mean, the percentage ownership is very low on these guys. So I'm not gonna say everything you just said. Again, Josh Jackson, Gorgie Zhang, Clark, all very good plays on their sheet, and just percentage ownership wise, Josh Jackson shows the lowest ownership of the guys we mentioned. So again, another great punt play there. 23 minutes, averages 0.98 fantasy points per minute. And then we're going to get some Dylan Brooks questions too. Not a bad play either. 4.8, as we know, it's just very up and down with him. It's just dependent on shooting. So again, another decent play for GPPs. So let's go ahead and bring it all together here. We have about 20 minutes, which is usually the time that it takes to get through the slate for us. So I'm going to go ahead, and I have updated all the percentage ownerships. I'm going to go ahead and break down the 150 lineups to see who pops here at the top. Last was Glenn Robinson. That's obviously not the case anymore. So let's do this all over again. I'm breaking down 150 lineups. TJ, do you have your cash locks already?
Yeah, I just did something scary.
Oh.
I got a lineup with Luka Giannis. Oh no, I don't have Luka. That makes sense. Okay, that makes sense.
TJ's rusty, guys. It's all good.
That makes sense. I'm sitting here thinking okay.
Well, I put Paul Millsap at 0.75 percentage ownership last night in their lineup, and that was risky, and it paid off. So
I saw it. That was awesome.
A lot of people that were not on him because of his previous minutes, but they didn't realize he was starting. So.
Some people. So cash locks, yeah. Right now, it's gonna be Mo Wagner, Luca, Josh Richardson, Robin Lopez. I feel like those are your four safest plays. I mean, I like Embiid. I really like Giannis too. I like Brandon Clark for cash for sure, just because the ownership. I like Kelly Olynyk. Um,
For cash?
for Olynyk for cash, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
If he starts, I like Olynyk
Okay.
for cash if he starts. So that's kind of where I'm looking at right now. But I think Mo Wagner is a safe play with Bertans out for cash. Obviously, Luka's probably going to be the chalkiest guy on the slate at 10-5. Josh Richardson with no Simmons has been very good for them, so I definitely like him. And then Robin Lopez getting the start at 3K. I feel like he's going to be one of the chalkier guys on the slate too. So I feel like that's a good, just kind of a free spot. Throw him in at center. But yeah, like I said, I do like Embiid with no Simmons in that matchup against Atlanta. I do like Giannis. Obviously, we are scared of the blowout. I mean, I think Giannis, Harden, and Luka are all cash viable tonight. Just picking. I mean, you can roster two if you want as well. I think I want to go Luka and Giannis. I think Luka more just because of the ownership and the price, but I think Giannis is the best matchup tonight, especially with no Robin Lopez. I feel like just more rebounds for him. Not that Robin Lopez is a huge rebounder, but just another big body out there that can gather boards. So yeah, I mean, obviously you input Brook Lopez and you get you take out Brook Lopez, you get Robin Lopez. I mean, they're basically you're taking out one caveman, putting another one in. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm thinking. So Mo Wagner, Luka, Josh Richardson, Robin Lopez, all four good cash safe plays. Embiid, Giannis, Brandon Clark. I mean, I still like Harden, Kelly Olynyk. I think all those guys are viable. I know Gorgie Zhang is still in there, but the minutes just aren't there. So that's the only thing that really scares me with him. It is a good matchup against the Clippers, especially coming off the bench. If he does get to bang down low with Trez, I definitely like that matchup just because of the size difference. So, yeah, it's kind of where my head's at right now. I'm going to do my best to roster two of those three studs tonight, though.
So,
and
I refreshed my ownership again, and I think you need to do the same because it completely changed. More so with these studs. So you were right in the sense that you think Giannis is going to be higher owned. He's only bumped up 3%, but James Harden's ownership went way down. So that means James Harden and Giannis are obviously going to be more GPP plays, just in general because of their ownership. But if you can, like you said, if you can get Giannis in there, I'm not going to complain. James Harden at 18%, which is the lowest of the three studs. I do like James Harden for GPPs. Again, guys, I'm going over my favorite GPP plays now. Kelly Olynyk is still showing at 10%, which is why I asked you if he was going to be a cash play, which I still like. I like Olynyk.
He's not a lock for me, but like
Right.
If I land on him, I'm not disappointed.
And he's also a fantastic GPP play. So I do like Olynyk. I like Harden. Brandon Clark's more of a cash. Let's go down to Eric Gordon, of course, getting overlooked at 12.35%. His ownership actually went down. Glenn Robinson is still there. Obviously, if he's getting minutes and he's starting. Bam Adebayo, another great GPP play. As we know, without Butler, he still performs very, very well in a pace-up spot against Cleveland. So again, at 8% ownership, another fantastic GPP pivot for the center position tonight. Gorgie Zhang is showing at 10% now. So another great punt GPP play. And of course, Josh Jackson. It looks like the ownership on Memphis actually went down and more to Philly, which is odd. Very odd. I like Memphis. I like Memphis as a GPP team in general. I like Miami. If you guys can get a couple of Miami guys in there. And who was the last team that Houston. In Houston. I mean, all these guys are getting overlooked, it seems. So, I'm not saying you should only target those teams, but those guys are definitely good for stacking tonight. If you guys want to stack a couple of those guys from each game, I do like those plays tonight.
You can roster. I wouldn't say in terms of cash do this, but you can roster Luka, Harden, and Giannis tonight. You'd have 3,400 left over. You can put Bonga at small forward. You know the minutes are going to be there against Milwaukee. Yeah. Obviously, not a very exciting play. And you can put Robin Lopez at center. So that could be your first five. I mean, you can start a lineup for GPPs: Luka, Harden, Bonga, Giannis, and Robin Lopez. You got 3,600 left over to fill out the rest of that roster. It's not going to be pretty, but I mean, you can put Olynyk, Zhang, Glenn Robinson, especially if he starts, like D'Anthony Melton. I mean, Eric Gordon, like George Hill, like there's guys that you can fill out. So that's definitely potential GPP play.
for sure.
It's obviously scary. I'm not saying go do
Optimal.
it, but I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Why not?
You guys already know I'm gonna do it. I'm also gonna say, guys, we're gonna get off here in about 8 minutes because with this percentage ownership changing so much, I have a lot of updating to do, not only for myself but for my Patreon people. So I'm gonna give it another 8 minutes. We're gonna go through questions. And it looks like you guys aren't flying questions at us as much as you have been, so that's fine. It seems like it all works out. So I think I'm gonna start answering questions now, TJ, if that's okay. If you have anything else to say about cash games.
Yeah, no, I'll allow it.
Okay.
You can answer.
You'll allow it? All right. What's ownership on Joel Embiid tonight? Is he going overlooked? Absolutely not. He's not going overlooked. He's actually the highest owned guy here at almost 45%. He's going to be... You said he was a cash lock, right? I heard his name.
Mine are Mo Wagner, Luka, Josh Richardson, Robin Lopez. But yeah,
Okay.
Embiid would be my fifth. I had to make one.
Okay, yeah. Joel is
Embiid will
very
be
high owned.
That helps.
The only thing that's ever concerning for me with Joel Embiid is his minutes. It's like when he's out there, he has to perform or else he won't hit his price tag. But again, he should, averaging 1.61 fantasy points per minute with the current injuries. So
my one concern with him is his demeanor. Like what Joel Embiid's going to show up. Like is he going to show up and be aggressive off the rip and actually take over and control the game, which he can night in and night out, or is he just going to come out and be lazy and be like, I don't want to be here tonight?
Well, since you've been gone, he's actually had a very good demeanor. So
no, I know with Simmons off. I mean, that's what he should do. So I mean, that's obviously good.
Yeah. So yeah, to answer that question, he's not going overlooked at all. I think if anybody's getting overlooked, it's gonna be somebody like Adebayo tonight. Oubre ? We didn't really talk about Phoenix, but that's because they have all the injuries back. I'll go ahead and just take a brief look at him. I don't think he popped on our sheet too much. Kelly Oubre at 6.7 against Utah. No, I'm not a fan. Their over under is down as a pace down spot for them. I would go somewhere else for GPPs if I had to recommend. Hachimura or Naz Reid for GPP?
Oof.
That's very tough. I will say this. Well, first of all, I'm going to say the lower owned, but I think that Hachimura has a little bit more upside tonight.
Yeah, I'd go Hachimura.
Hachimura 32 minutes, 5 points. Yeah, and he's very low owned, 1%. So,
this slate is so stars and scrubsy that I kind of want to just play Giannis, Harden, and Luka in cash.
Can you do that?
Yeah, I just talked about that.
Well, no, I thought you said Doncic and just Giannis. I didn't know you were going to throw Harden there too. Okay.
Were you multitasking?
I wasn't multitasking, but I definitely wasn't listening. So.
I mean, just because like the mid tier is just so.
Yeah.
Man.
It's just so up and down.
It's not intriguing at all.
Brandon Clark's like the only guy that's like, okay, you need to start him, but even him's like, you can get away with it. Olenek and Jones will start. Awesome. Thanks for the update. I did not look at my phone, so that makes us like Olenek and Jones even more. I think TJ can agree with that. Getting starter minutes. We like guaranteed minutes from those guys because they're very productive. All right, small forward cash play. It's funny because on my Patreon page, small forward's like the only position where I'm like, I don't know. So let's go ahead and look at it here.
Small forward is an absolute trash position tonight. It's the worst position on the slate, 100%. I mean,
Eric Gordon plays small forward. Glenn Robinson plays, but again, these are more GPPs. Josh Jackson plays small forward.
I'm kind of looking at Bonga, unfortunately, at 3-1. Like, just saying that makes me kind of want to throw up in my mouth.
Saying his name just makes me want to throw up. Like, just his name.
Yeah, Bonga, or Dylan Brooks fits in at small forward.
Giannis would have, but they took away his small forward eligibility.
Covington's probably the guy that I'm most interested in at 6K. I think you can get away without playing him tonight, though. That's the only thing. So, yeah, I mean, has Philly announced the starting lineup? Because, if Glenn Robinson starts, I definitely don't hate him at 3,200.
Yeah, I'm going to refresh my page here.
I feel like he'd be a pretty nice play. But the one thing that I'm running into is, I mentioned that I want to start Giannis with Luka if I can. You can't roster Giannis, Mo Wagner, Embiid, Clark, and Lopez. You don't have enough spots, so you got to get rid of one of them.
Yeah, small forward. I mean, there's a lot of GPP options for small forward, but nobody's safe.
Oh, I got my lineup. Oh, it's gorgeous. Oh, my cash. You cash guys, you're going to love this.
So, no, Troy Brown at small forward. I know you like Troy Brown, too. a GPP option. You just never know with him. There's not as many injuries as there would be for me to like him. He averages 0.96 fantasy points without Bertans on the court and Bryant. So I'm not as in love as I normally am with him because with all those injuries, he was averaging like over a fantasy point per minute and he was on fire. But I mean, 27 minutes, his minutes actually went up a minute. So they're projecting him to be heavily evolved in the second unit. If you want to take a stab, he's showing at 12%, so not as low as I'd want him to be. I like him at that 1% ownership whenever I took him. Eric Gordon, that's not a question mark. Yo, that's not a question.
Yo, it's not a question?
Seti Osman. He's actually been killing it, but let's see. Again, like TJ said, with now at 4.6 now. I don't really know what's going to go on with Cleveland. If he's going to play 37 minutes, I mean, sure, but again, we don't really know. I'm not enough to like recommend him. I'm not like in love with Seti Osman tonight. Alec Burks, yeah, we touched base on him earlier. A decent GPP flyer. He's been balling out just in general. I love him as a player. I think he's just a great player, a fun player to watch. But he's only projected 22 minutes, so strictly GPP showing at 22 minutes. So he had a very good game playing 29, and last game he played 21, showing at 18 fantasy points, and he's still 4.9, so it's a little pricey. But again, I mean, if he gets hot and he stays in the game, which he did that one game, could easily be a very good GPP option. Nas Reed or Jarrett Allen. So let's talk about Brooklyn's center picture because they don't even know what to do because Jarrett Allen had like a career game last game. Not a career game. A very good game. 38 DK points and he played 24 minutes, so he's finally getting those minutes back, a little bit of them anyway. And DeAndre Jordan also went back to playing 19 minutes. So one of those guys is going to play minutes. It's just about which one. Against Vooch, it's tough. Who do you think's going to play more, TJ, if you had to? I don't know. Against Vooch. I would want to say Jarrett Allen, but
I was probably going to say DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah, so
but yeah,
so like we don't know.
It's it's such a toss-up between those two. I feel like it's kind of go with the hot hand.
Does DeAndre Jordan never have a hot hand?
No, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, that's definitely never.
Can I get a quick...
Anker asked Kawhi's going to go overlooking GPPs. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. That's another thing. We need to mention that because Paul George, like if he's ruled out, obviously all aboard the... Yeah, and Patrick Beverly too. Like imagine if both those guys get ruled out against Memphis. Yikes.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, so definitely keep an eye out on that.
Late pivots. If you guys are playing DK, hey, save a couple of GPPs, play or stack this game just in case. Might as well, right? Because they'll all be like under 5% owned. So
Matt loves and thrives on late pivots. It's his favorite thing in the world.
Except for last night when you pivot to Andrew Wiggins instead of CJ McCollum because the entire Warriors roster's rolled out, and then CJ has a career game.
Yeah, CJ's the best. No Lillard, dude. Come on.
Yeah, but dude, if you saw, you didn't even see last night. Warriors had nobody.
I went to sleep.
All right.
Bed at like 30. I was dead.
I'm gonna have to get off now. It's 6:25 here. TJ, do you want to give a quick overview? I think somebody just asked that of your cash plays again one more time.
Yeah, that was Devo. I'm not giving him anything.
Who?
That was Devo.
Oh no, it was Slothy.
Yeah, it's Devo. I'm not giving him anything.
All right.
He knows better. Coming on time or don't come at all. No, I'm kidding. Stars and scrubs. Luka, Embiid, Giannis, Harden, get 2 of 4 in your cash lineups if you can. Fill in Mo Wagner, Josh Richardson, Robin Lopez, Brandon Clark.
Peyton out.
I mean, Olynyk is a good play too. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now for cash.
Peyton out.
Oh shoot! I almost said the other word. Is he really out?
Yeah. All right, so here's what I'll do. I really do have to get off. Since Peyton's ruled out, I'll let you guys know in the Discord who my favorite plays are. I'll also let you guys know on Twitter once we have a better idea. My first look here is probably not going to change too much. It's not going to change cash anyway.
Well,
Might change some GPPs.
If Dennis Smith starts, then yeah.
But because Frank's out.
Yep.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, if DSJ starts, I mean, oh god,
I forgot he was out.
Yeah, so I mean do
Do have to get off. All right. Well, I'm not going to wait 10 minutes for the minutes update and everything. It's not as productive. I'm going to go ahead and update you guys in the Discord, on Twitter, if you guys follow us on Twitter, and I will go ahead and pin a post on the YouTube video for those who don't have either one of those social media outlets. All right. So I will do that. But first glimpse, it does look like Dennis Smith is going to get heavy minutes. Okay. So I will say that. He's probably going to be a bit chalkier now. Any last words, TJ?
Yeah, if Dennis Smith starts, he's definitely a cash play. So
I thought Frank was still playing.
So yeah, that definitely switches thing up. I wish there was a better small forward options, man.
Yeah.
Trash. I feel like Glenn Robinson's. I feel like he's a good play if he starts.
Take a stab at small forward and GPPs. There's a lot of value tonight at small forward position everywhere. All right, guys. With that being said, have a great night. We'll talk to you after the night ends, and we'll see you tomorrow, right?
All right, guys. Yeah, with that being said, I love you.
Yep. I love you guys too.
All right, with that being said, see you guys. Good night.
With that being said.